It's a very good question actually, because I've been asked this question a lot, and um, the thing is that it's difficult to answer as well, because every psychologist has, people, writers and psychologists that they firmly believe in, and they're fans of. And I have developed a very, very strong liking for psychoanalysis, especially Jung. If you read Carl Jung, he's superb. I think he's my favorite writer as well. But there have been many psychologists who have contributed amazing theories to psychology. One of my favorite theories is attachment and Bowlby and Ferenczi's, desire to return to the womb. And these kind of theories have been really, really spot on about a lot of things. My personal opinion is that about Freud is that there was a long period of time in my educational years. I entered into psychology because I was obsessed with Freud's theories. I read a lot on Freud, and when I went for my entrance interview to my university, and my two professors were taking my interview, and they said, do you know of any psychologists that you particularly enjoy reading? And I said, I really enjoy Sigmund Freud. And they kind of shared this, look, and they laughed a little bit. And I always felt like, why was this, why was Freud's name so you know ridiculed in the Psychology Society of Europe? And the reason for that is because, and now in later years I have also developed this opinion, is that uh, Freud gets a lot of credit. He gets a lot of popularity even today. He gets a lot of fame even today. Unfortunately, a lot of psychologists who have probably contributed a lot more and a lot more worthwhile theories, which are actually being used in psychotherapy, don't get the recognition that Freud gets. And the reason for this is, again, because of the waves that he created in Europe with his theories at a time in Europe when things like Oedipus complex was unheard of, and you couldn't speak these things in public, and he was brave enough to do it. And I think that he gets undue, maybe a little bit overestimated credit for his theories, because his theories were quite basic when he actually wrote them. It's later on that a lot of other psychologists added on to his theories, and that made his theories really viable and useful. But the reason why there is this sense of, um, when you say Freud in Europe, people, especially in psychological circles, and somebody asks you, do you believe in Freud, or do you read Freud, or who's your favorite psychologist, and you say Freud, you're considered a novice, or you're considered somebody who's new to this field, because there are names much more superior than Freud within our circle. But Freud is the layman's psychologist, if I can put it that way. He's the psychologist that most lay people are aware of, people who don't have an in-depth idea of psychology or psychiatry. They are limited to Freud. But there is a huge world of psychoanalysis that is not got anything to do with Freud. But like I said, he gets a lot of credit and a lot of fame because he did it at a time where it was very controversial to write these things. Later on, of course, his letters with Jung, which were exchanged with Jung, and all of that, showed that he was going through a lot of distress in his life, and he actually wrote a lot of his theories under the influence of cocaine and drugs. So that made him even more ridiculous. Like, now he's not really respected if you go to see. And my personal opinion changed from one of where I really loved Freud and I loved reading his books, to once I started studying psychology, I felt that it was quite basic stuff, and very, very novice stuff, good for lay people who are just entering into the world of psychology. It's a good read, to pick up. For example, his book on the unconscious mind, or the principles of psychoanalysis. These are the books he's written, and it's a good basic reading in psychology. But this, I think, my personal opinion is that the world of psychoanalysis and psychology is a lot more rich than Freud, and Freud is just the tip of the whole thing. And it's a good start for somebody who's just entering into it. And to keep your mind open, the most important thing is to keep your mind open, and not think of Freud as the beginning and end of everything. Like, there's a lot many psychologists who have done amazing work, who don't have the same amount of credibility and fame, purely because they wrote it at times which are not so controversial. So, there's Aaron Beck and all these amazing writers. And um, I would actually say that I prefer Jung to Freud in this manner.